Hey everyone, Charlie here. Today we are going to start a process, a project if you will, and we're going to actually be putting up SafeRacks from Costco. So these are basically overhead mounted storage racks that can, the ones that I bought are 4x8 each. They came in a pack of 2. They were on sale for $300, $299 something. It was $160 off. The funny thing is that you can get a 1-pack for $300, or with the sale you can get a 2-pack for $300. So some of my friends have them, and I don't really need the extra storage, but in the future I'm kind of future-proofing and putting up storage. So they're 4x8, so they're pretty big, and they each hold, these particular ones at least, hold 600 pounds each, up to 600 pounds each. So my plan, my garage is kind of like a, there's a standard 2-car part over there, but then I have a big extra space over here. And I was originally thinking I might mount them up, because this way I could access it without moving any cars if we ever have a second car. The issue though is that because of the size of these things, I could mount one, like for example, along the top here, but they're too big to actually mount one and then an L shape. That would have been ideal, but that won't work. And if I put 2 of them like on opposite sides, either this way or this way, the space in between them is actually too small. So it would actually hamper the ability to put stuff up there, because it would only be a few small feet in between the racks. So the racks would have a lot of space, but then the access to them from the middle would be bad. So my thought is I'm going to do what a lot of people I think do, and put them in a, and the second one would then have to be out above one of the cars anyway, right? So I figured, and it would look kind of asymmetrical and all that stuff. So I thought we were going to make it look nice and put them above the tracks of the garage up against that big beam there, and the same on the other side. So have one over there above where the car is currently, and then one over there above where there's nothing currently, and have the garage door opener be in the middle. So we're going to have one on that side above the track and one on that side. So when the track goes up, when the door opens, it's going to be a non-issue because it'll just cover up the rack. So it'll be kind of cool, tidy, symmetrical, and good. So we're going to start embarking on We're going to start embarking on this process together. It's my first time doing this. And this saves a lot of money, by the way. I just checked, and in the Seattle area, to have someone come from the SafeRacks website, which also is linked from the Costco website, you have to pay like $700, and I think there's tax on top of that too. That's almost $800 just to have someone put these up. So I figured I'm going to try doing it myself. All right, let's go. So this is where we're going to put both of them on either side of the garage door opener, but above the tracks. And this is, for reference, kind of the shape of my garage. It's a 2-car normal shape, but then it has a big extra area that's kind of storage, or I guess you could have 2 small cars in a row here if you really wanted to. So up here is where I wanted to originally. So looking toward the front, I wanted to put it up there, an L shape, but it's too wide. It won't fit the width of this, and then having 2 wouldn't work either because the space in between would be too small, and the same goes on the other side. So these are the things that come with it. So these are extremely heavy. I just brought these from the front. This part was delivered today. These are very heavy. This must be the poles and stuff. And then these must be the mesh and things like that. So I'm going to start unboxing them, and we'll see what we got to do. Don't open a box like that. It's not very efficient. So the big wide box that comes will have the assembly instructions, and it'll have a lot of the nuts and bolts and stuff, the big wire meshes. Basically, this is what's inside it. And I'm going to open up one of the heavy ones. So in the smaller box, the very heavy one, we've got most of the holes and stuff. So a lot of the big metal. And here we've got the wire mesh, the accessories, the nuts and bolts, the instruction manual. All right, now it's time to start working. So what I'm going to do now is go up and find the joists and mark them down and figure out where the middle of each joist is. pro tip. Make sure your automatic lights don't shut off, so override them while you're working. So, what you gotta do, and what you have to remember is that the brackets that mount to the ceiling, there's different ways to do it, but the main way I think is to span two different studs. And so in my garage, you can see these big beams going this way, kind of running horizontally compared to the length of my garage. But my the studs, the big strips of wood that go down, run parallel to the garage, the long ways. So if you look up here, I marked down with little dots where the joists are, or sorry, where the studs are, and they're going to be running this way. So one of these metal brackets, you're going to mount 4 metal brackets. It's going to go between 1 and 2. So it's going to be it's going to be basically running, let's see, perpendicular to the length of my garage. And it's going to, so you have a joist here, a stud here and here, and the bracket is going to be going between the two of them. Very similar to how they installed the garage door thing. So I'm going to have one basically on the other side, on this side of the garage door one, doing the same thing. Over here, we're going to do the exact same thing. So in the middle, I found where they go. In both places, it's going to span 2 studs that were running parallel to the length of the garage, if that makes any sense. Let's give it a go. So these are the 4 mounting brackets that come with each overhead shelf. On one side, you're going to see basically these kind of longer things, and then you have the shorter ones. You're going to mount them. They span 2 joists, so you're going to mount them across the 4 places that we marked. Well, actually 8 places that we marked. So here is the kind of a picture of the overview of what we're doing here. So you got the 4 that are going to span 2 joists, or 2 studs each, right? Oh, sorry, joists. I'm interchanging the words joists and studs because I really don't know what I'm talking about. So huge disclaimer, I don't know what I'm talking about. So do anything at your own risk because I'm just mixing up words anyway. Joists, it says right here, joists. So each one will span 2 joists, and you have 4 of them like that. Then you're going to put the vertical pieces together, then connect the horizontal ones, and then put the wire mesh, and that's it. Before we get to that part, the next step is going to be drilling holes into there. It says that for the 8 racks only, you're supposed to assemble these 2 long pieces together. Actually, it's 4 pieces into 2 long holes. So we're going to do that first. Okay, so for the 2 big ones, you align them like so, and then you're going to have 6 holes here, right? And you're going to assemble them as they instruct with some nuts and washers and whatnot. Baby, you give me ice and fire. All right, so I finished putting together these the long side things, like I said, and now we're going to go up there and drill some holes, basically. And it says that we're supposed to drill 3/16 pilot holes, and that's going to be way up top, way up over there. So 3/16. There we go. You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Now, one thing to note is that the distance from, if you're doing it like I'm doing it, I'm going to be putting, let's see, how's it going to be arranged here? It's going to be like this, with this, you drill the small hole side into the top, excuse me, and the long thing is on the side. So it's going to be like this, right? But with space in between. But what I need to make sure is that the distance from this end, so the side coming down, to the side coming down, needs to be 48.5 inches long for the width. So I'm going to measure that out before I drill my second set of pilot holes. Baby, you give me midnight. I'm going to have to mark it with some with a pen. That should have been part of the first step. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, well, I don't want to jinx it, baby. Now for the long side, the 8 feet long side, what you want to do is you want you want one end of the mounting bracket to the same end on the other mounting bracket to be 96.5 inches. So if you've got two mounting brackets, this side to this side, or this side to this side, needs to be 96.5 inches. So we'll measure, drill, and finish all that up. I'm going to attach the first one with a 3-inch lag screw with a washer on the nut side, or on the head side.
Baby, just treat your body and mine. Baby, you give me ice and fire.
All right, so a little bit of an update. I was originally planning on having, 2 bars separate in the middle, but because of the rule that states that you have to have 96.5 inches between the long sides, so from, let's see here, from end to end, so you can kind of see in this diagram here, like the left side to the left side of the long end. That's going to mean that the second one's going to be over the middle of the garage door, but that might interfere with the other one, but there's a way around that. So if you look here in the back of the instruction manual, you can install multiple racks, but basically all you have to do is double up the thing. So you're still going to use 2 racks, just put one on the front, one on the back, and then they'll just be mounted through them. So that might be the easiest way to go. So I'm going to see about that, see if I can figure out the best way to do that. So I had a little bit of an issue with, as I said earlier, I was using my normal drill to be screwing these basically nuts into place. They look like screws, but the end is just like a nut. And I didn't have anything to do it properly with. So I was using my drill by basically just like adjusting the adjusters around it and going, but it worked with a couple of them, but didn't work with the last one. So I ran down to Lowe's and picked up a small set of like socket things that work with an impact driver. So that's what I'm going to be using from now on.
You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, but I don't wanna jinx it, baby. Let's not get ahead of my time. Oh.
So I found the ideal length. The middle drive shaft that line is a little bit higher up than the side tracks, and so I want to make sure I could do 1 notch down, but I want to make sure there's a little bit of room to work with just in case. And I'm going to use the nuts and bolts and put them together. So for each one of these, you're going to use a nut, a bolt, and a washer. And I recommend putting on one on each side. There's 2 sides. One at the top of where they overlap. Oops. So at the top of where they overlap, just like so. And one at the bottom of where they overlap. So that'll go on the other side. Just like this. So I'll show you what it looks like at the end. Oops, hang on. All right, so it should look like this. So I'll step back. So these are at the top of one side and the bottom of the other side. The top and bottom of where they overlap. You have your little nut, your washer, and then the what do they call it? The bolt, the washer, and a little nut on the back. And now we're going to figure out how to put it up. All right, I finished assembling all of the 4 side things that we've been talking about. A piece of advice I have is, they kind of shift, right? So make sure you pull them out so they actually fully extend before you completely tighten them, and that way they're going to be the same length. Otherwise, they might be slightly different lengths. To really tighten them down, what I'm doing is basically getting a pair of pliers that can hold one side. It's going to be hard to do this while I'm standing up. And then a wrench on the other side. So you can kind of twist the wrench while you're holding it still on the other side. So now what you're supposed to do is take each of these 4 drop-down posts that you have and loosely kind of attach them to each of the 4 corners, but leaving them loose so that you can kind of adjust them, because the holes for those where this will attach is actually kind of a longer oval shape, so you can kind of adjust them accordingly. So you use a nut, a bolt, and a washer there too. Actually, I take back what I said there. For the attachment between the drop-down post and the top, you're actually going to use 2 washers. So you're going to use the nut, 2 washers, and a bolt. Yeah, it says using a single bolt with 2 washers, 1 on each side, and a locking nut. So you're going to use a single bolt, 2 washers, 1 on each side, and a locking nut for each of the 4.
But I don't wanna miss you, baby. So I stand up and speak my mind.
All right, now it's time to install the side beams. So the side beams have a lip that's kind of like this. You can read it from the side. They have a lip. And on the outside are these little things that will slide into the holes at the top. So it says to make sure to ensure the small lip is on the top and the side beams are on the inside of the vertical posts. And then you're going to use a rubber mallet to kind of tap them down. Now I don't have a rubber mallet, but I do have a hammer. Now a hammer might dent this a little bit, so what I'm going to use is either a paper towel roll in between, or maybe just a rolled up microfiber towel from Costco or something. If you haven't figured it out already, pretty much everything we ever buy is from Costco. But anyways, I'll use that as a kind of intermediary between the hammer and this.
Oh,
All right, so I had to readjust it because I was a little off and it wasn't fitting, but readjusted it. Now it's good. Now I'm going to pound the second one in. Let's see if you can make sure you guys can see what I'm doing here. So here's the center one. You just line it up with the middle section. Remember, we've left some holes there when we were doing the initial 2 long sides before we started almost anything. And you're going to use the remaining hex bolts and, let's see, what does it say? Nuts and just has hex bolts and lag nuts. Yeah, so I don't think we need to use a washer even. The first one, do we use a washer? Let's see, let me go back and look. Yeah, we didn't use a washer on those ones, so just nuts and bolts.
baby, you give me ice and fire. You're chilling.
All right, so now what I gotta do is go up there, and as you can see, it's making progress. Go up there and tighten everything up. So I'm gonna tighten all the bolts everywhere.
In the rain, you're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight.
All right, it's time to put the wire wax up now. Those look like this, and they just sit on by gravity. So just place them up there.
You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me high and dry.
And that's it. Let's take a closer look. So that's one. So let's take a back view so you can kind of see from one side of the garage. It's up on that side. That'll hold 600 pounds. Oops, sorry. I'm going to now do the left side. I think that'll go faster because I kind of learned some tricks and stuff, but it looks pretty good. Now it also comes with these hooks and whatnot that you can use. I might play with that later, but I'm going to work on getting the other one up first. These are hooks and stuff that you can attach to hang stuff off of it and whatnot. Oops. Just going to set this over to the side for now. So at the end, be sure to stick these black plugs into the big part of the bottom 2 holes on each corner. All right, I'm going to start working on the next one. All right, check it out, all done. So, we've got the two up there, got them centered nicely, and when you open and close the garage, it goes up and nicely has clearance. Covers it up. Very cool. All right, hope that was helpful. I'm gonna clean up and get some rest. Now, this also comes with various accessories. You get a whole bunch of these, which are, let's see, there's three different things. There's deck hooks, rail hooks, and utility hooks. This would be a deck hook. So you hang these over two wires, so they can go anywhere along the bottom. These are utility hooks. They're for bigger items, and they can be attached to the vertical posts, and you have to use bolt washers and nuts. And then finally, they also give you a bunch of these, which go over the edge, and I think they're called rail hooks. Let's see here, rail hooks. That's right. Now, what you should do is loop them around so that around two wires, and then kind of pull it in so the wire gets looped in here. The issue is that there are these kind of bigger sections, thicker portions of the wire mesh, the wire rack, that won't allow it to go. So where you can put it is more limited. Also, if you did what I did and you have it mounted above the rack of the above the garage door, you obviously are not going to want to hang anything that's in the way of the garage door, because then it'll hit it when the garage door goes up. So keep that in mind. Same on the floor, so you can see where the hook is installed. The other ones are movable to some extent, at least. They basically just loop over something. Sorry for the angle. But the other ones, the ones that go on the down poles, the ones that go on the down poles, those ones need to be fastened in with a nut, a bolt, and it doesn't clearly say whether there's supposed to be one or two washers. Which it says the utility hook is designed for longer items, and it attaches to the vertical post with bolts, washers, and locking nuts. So it's not clear whether you're supposed to put one or two. I'm just putting one. I'm going to attach the other three just to have it all the way up. All right, so just want to show how the garage door goes up and under both safe racks. It's a very clean look this way. And when you raise it up, and you look from the outside, you actually can't even see the safe racks because it's hidden so well under there. It's pretty cool. So a lot of extra storage. And yet from the outside, you can't even tell. It still looks open and big inside. Not random things hanging down when you're coming in it. So when you're walking in, they're all above you. So awesome. All right. Hope this was helpful. Thanks a lot. I'll see you in another video. Bye-bye.